What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Axe Creation. And on this week's lesson, we're gonna make 4/4 sound a little awkward, sound a little uncomfortable with some implied polymeters. Now, why do I say implied polymeters? Well, because essentially what we're doing with this example is we're taking a riff that spans 4 measures, right? Just like every other pop song, every other rock song. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna chop it up a little bit and make some slight variations. Take off a few notes here or there throughout. And what that's gonna do is gonna slide it over and make it start and stop in unusual positions, right? Or uncomfortable positions, right? It's gonna create this kind of heavily syncopated idea against 4/4, all right? So let's give it a quick listen and then we'll come back and we'll break it down. Awesome, right? Nice and heavy, nice and fun. All right, so before we jump in, I'm on a 7-string in a drop A tuning. Now you can be on a 6-string in a drop tuning of your preference, and that's okay. You don't have to be on the 7-string, all right? Down in the description below, you can find the links that'll bring you to the tabs. And while you're at it, please click that subscribe button. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you click that little shiny bell down there so you get the notifications, because we do this weekly. So for our riff, we are centered here in 3rd position, which what looks like a power chord shape, but because we are in a drop tuning, it's not. It's actually a major 6th, a relevant music theory information there, which sounds nice and tense, right? A really nice sound with a lot of distortion. I kind of dig it. And we're basically bouncing off the low fret 3rd string. Wait a minute. Low string 3rd fret. And we're gonna bounce it back and forth on the 6th string from 5 to 4. Now, in the beginning, I talked about implied polymeters because technically you can break it down or analyze it and it's a polymeter against 4. But that's not really kind of what we're doing here. The riff is phrased in a whole lot of awkward different things, okay? So the essential idea of the riff is 15/16, right? 15 16th notes. And I know that sounds complicated and a mouthful, but it's really not. It's really just 1 16th note short of 4/4, right? So if you're in 4/4, you can count 4 beats of 16th notes and then 3 16th notes, right? You can go right? Everything's the same speed. You'll see bands like Dream Theater will do this often. So what we're gonna do is that riff is centered around that time. So this is the first phrase. We're bouncing from 5 to 4 to the low string. Okay, that's our first phrase. Now, as we repeat it, we're gonna chop off notes here and there. Okay, so first one is at 15/16. Okay, and then we're gonna chop off 1 note to make it 14/16. And essentially, it's a very slight variation, but against the beat of 4, again, you're gonna shift over when this riff starts, and that's what we're kind of aiming at here, right? So you have the 15/16, and then the 14/16. Right, and you can hear it right there. It's right there. We're removing one of those low string hits. You can see the tabs going across the top of the screen, hopefully. All right, so we have those 2. And then we're gonna repeat the first one again, back to the 15, okay? So we have. Okay, and then we have a measure of essentially 13, right? And then we're gonna end it with a little quick turnaround of 7 there. All right, 4, 5, 4, then 0, 3 on the low string. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's our 7 16th notes, right? So the whole thing, you have 15, 14, 15, 13, 7, right? Again, I know that's complicated. I'm not preconceiving this idea like, oh, I'm gonna do all these numbers and it's not like that, right? It's kind of more of a natural feel and riff variation. You just got to play with it, and over time it kind of gets more comfortable. But I guess you can say that I started the idea with 15/16. I'm a Dream Theater fan. I've seen it done before. I've played it in before. It's a fun time to kind of mess around with. So that's where this comes from. So I'll play it once through, and then I'll open it up, right? Unpalm mute it. So it'll be palm muted and then unpalm muted. And then we have a slight little fill. Just normal power chords in 4/4 on our low A, right? 4, 3, 1, 3. And then the riff will repeat. And then on the second time, just to give it some structure and some form and some context, we'll make that a little longer. It'll be the same thing, 4, 3, 1, 3. Instead of 4, it'll go up to 6, and then repeat the 4, and then chug on some 3s. Right? Really fun riff, really fun idea to do and experiment with. You can get as heavy and awkward with it as you like. Check out bands like Meshuggah. They'll do things like this. So it's a little more structured where they'll have something, a riff. Everybody thinks it's some kind of odd time, polymetric thing. Technically it is, but technically it's also just in 4 the whole way, right? And I know they're not thinking about it in terms of polymeters, all right? Well, they'll play a measure, you know, a measure, the riff has, say, eighth notes in a measure of 4. The riff will be centered around 7 and 9, so 9/8 or 7/8, and those 2 times specifically link up over 2 measures, right? So you can have a riff, shape it in 7/8 notes, and then extend it to 9/8 notes, and then that'll give you 2 measures of 4. Ideas like that, right? It gives you a heavily syncopated, you cross bar lines, you kind of manipulate the sense of time, and you mess with your listener. Lots of fun to do. Anyway, guys, like I said, down in the description below, you can find the links for all the tabs. And as always, let me know what you come up with. So until then, I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.